Hey guys, Matthew here with Cool Stuff. I've got the OnePlus 6T right here that I've had for about 2 months now, and so I decided that I would do a 2-month review on the good, the bad, and the ugly on this phone to see if this phone can stack up to the phones like the Google Pixel, the Samsung Galaxies, and the iPhones. And so this is my 2-month review on the OnePlus 6T. Stay tuned. So let's just go real quick through the specs here. This has either a 6 or an 8 gigabytes of RAM with 128 gigabytes or 256 gigabytes of internal storage, non-expandable. It is a 6.41 inch AMOLED display running a Snapdragon 845 chipset. It is also rocking the latest of Android Pie. This gets some of the latest updates pretty fast. It has an Adreno 630 GPU, and it costs either $549 or $579 or $629 depending on which one you get. There is also a McLaren edition of this phone. It has 10 gigabytes of storage and 256 gigabytes of internal storage, but that costs $699 for that edition. So my model here is the 8 gigabytes of RAM with 256 gigabytes of internal storage, and it costs $629. And so in my opinion, this is very comparable. The phone itself is very comparable to the likes of the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus and those kind of phones, but at a fraction of the price. So let's go on to the pros of this phone. The first pro is the gorgeous display. Yes, it's not a full. It's not like the Samsung Galaxy S9 or S9 Plus. It's not like the Pixel or the iPhone, but it is a very beautiful display with very vivid colors, especially when you have the multiple color settings, adaptive, dynamic, and all that. It does look very nice, and in my opinion, on something this small, phone-wise, you can't really tell that much of a difference between a Quad HD and all the other displays that Samsung comes out with. They all look very good at this, on a phone like this and on those phones. The next thing is this phone has one of the smallest notches out there. You have the notches like your iPhone, which started the notch trend, and then you also have your notches like your Google Pixel 3 XL, which is one of the largest notches out there, and then you have this notch. It uses what they call a teardrop notch, and it is very minimal and looks very good with the phone, and so it's very small in my opinion. So that's one reason why I really like this phone, is the notch is not that out there. The next thing would be that this phone has specs that are very comparable to flagship phones, with your 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM and your 128 and 256 gigabytes of storage at a fraction of the cost. Usually for something like this, if you go the Samsung route, you'll be paying something up to like $1,000. If you go the iPhone route, you'll be paying something like $1,200, $1,300, give or take. And so this was only $629, and so I think that is a bargain and a steal for what you get on this phone. The next thing would be a premium build quality. I personally have a D brand skin on here, but it feels great. This phone, it is glass back, so no more of that metal back. It is all glass. I do wish they would have had wireless charging, but later on that. But this phone in the hand, it just feels like a very solid, very premium device, and that's what I like about this phone a lot. The next thing is the in-display or under-display fingerprint scanner. This phone is one of the first ones to come out with this. It is the first one to be mass-produced with this fingerprint display, and so it works pretty well, and as you use it more and more, it adapts and it gets better. And so that's one thing that I really like about this phone, is that it's able to do that, and it works for the most part. Another thing on this phone is the super fast face unlock. A lot of times I'll go to look at a notification and my phone will just automatically unlock without me telling it to. And so it's that fast. Like a lot of times I'll just look at it, I'll wake it up and I'll look at it and it'll just go ahead and unlock, and I'm like, I just wanted to look at the notifications. So that's really cool, is that it's very fast. Another thing that sets OnePlus apart from the others is the alert slider. On the side of the phone here, there's this sliding button, kind of like the iPhone with their mute, vibrate, and all that. But this also does it, but in a little different way. You have your ring is all the way down, your middle one is just the vibrate, and all the way up to the top is silent. And this phone, the alert slider is very textured, which is nice. And so I really like that about this phone. Another thing is Oxygen OS. It is one of the best skins you can get on an Android phone over Android Pie. Phones like the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus, and even for the previous Galaxy phones, they have what is called Samsung TouchWiz, I think, or Samsung Experience, and it is, in my opinion, not as nice. It's not very good. I wish Samsung would just completely get rid of it and just stick with Android or do somewhat different. I hear that their new interface, Samsung One, will be able to be a lot easier, but this Oxygen OS on top of Android Pie is the closest right now you can get without having to buy for the Google Pixel 3 and 3 XLs and all the Google Pixels. This is the closest thing to stock Android that you can get, which is very nice. So another thing is super fast charging on this phone. It's previously called dash charging. Now it's not called dash charging, it's just fast charging due to copyright and infringement. But it ships in the box, which is really nice. Unlike your iPhones that ships with the little 5-watt charger, this actually ships with the dash charger. It charges it really fast. I think in 30 minutes it charged my phone up 50%. So that's super nice. Another thing is photos. Surprisingly, for a $629 phone, the photos on this are amazing. My sister just recently got an iPhone XS, and we compared the photos from her phone and the photos from my phone, and yeah, there was a little difference, but the photos were very close. There weren't a whole lot of difference, and sometimes my other sister, she said that she preferred the photos on the OnePlus versus the photos on the iPhone XS, which says a lot for OnePlus and where they've come with their camera. And so for my sister to say that she prefers the photos sometimes on the OnePlus over the iPhone XS says a lot. Another cool thing is that you'll get super fast software updates. I think since I've had this phone, I've updated this phone like 4 or 5 times. I've gotten the security updates and the little patches and all that on this phone versus the Samsung phone that I have, that I haven't got. I think I've gotten maybe 1 update, if that, and it was just one of the November security patch update. And so for this to constantly be getting that update is really nice. It's staying up to date. I'm not having to wait, because I know in the past OnePlus has had issues with keeping updates pretty fast, and so now it seems like they aren't having that issue, which is nice. Also, the last thing is that this phone is super smooth software. It's very fluid. There's no stutter. There's hardly any lag or anything like that, which is nice. I'll swipe up. I'll move from window to window. I'll move from app to app, and it just goes just like that. It's super should I say buttery, I guess, but it's super fluid and it's very nice. And that's one thing that I really like about this phone, is that unlike my previous phones, I've had a couple, like as I've used it, it's had some lag and then I have to free up some space. But this phone doesn't have that issue, which is really nice. Also, I will say that the gestures on this phone are amazing. I do like how Apple has implemented the gestures on the iPhone XS and XS Max and the 10, and OnePlus does basically the same thing. In my opinion, they do the gestures better than the Google Pixel and Pixel XLs, which is weird because Google's the one who makes the software for OnePlus and for all the other Android phones, and so for the OnePlus phone to have better gestures than the Pixel is really saying something. If you do like the Pixel gestures though, you can go back and you can, in the settings, you can change it from the swipes, all the different swipes, to the Google Pixel, the little pill and all that as well. And you can also change it back to the old Android navigation buttons that are there as well, which is a cool touch. So on to the cons. One thing that OnePlus has been known for in the past was keeping the headphone jack. Apple got rid of the headphone jack, and then all of a sudden all these other phones, the Google, LG, all these phones started getting rid of the headphone jack. And OnePlus used to make fun of these phones for doing it, saying, hey, we still have our headphone jack. Well, sadly, OnePlus has finally joined onto the train and have ditched the headphone jack. And that is pretty sad in my opinion. I wish they had kept it. It would have been nice. But there is a reason for OnePlus getting rid of the headphone jack. It is to make room for the in-display fingerprint scanner. So I understand the reasoning behind it, but to make fun of other companies for ditching the headphone jack and then coming a year later and ditching it themselves was kind of a bad move for OnePlus. Another thing is that this phone has no wireless charging. Yes, it's a $629 phone, but you just recently moved from metal back to glass back. What are you going to use that glass back for? Well, you use it for wireless charging. Not OnePlus. They don't do that. They say that wireless charging isn't as reliable, isn't as fast, isn't as stable as just plugging in the phone, which I understand. But wireless charging is getting better, it's getting faster, it's getting more stable, and now that you have this glass back on your phone, it is very easy to add wireless charging to your phone. And so I wish that they had done that. This phone also doesn't have an official IP water resistance grade. It does say it is water resistant, but it doesn't give it a specific grade like 67, 68, anything like that. However, I know that there are some people who have done water tests and have shown that this phone can be submerged underwater for a reasonable amount of time. I wouldn't just leave it in there for an hour, but it is able to do that, and so I wish they had gone ahead and done the water resistance, the official water, the IP testing. Another thing is that the software for this phone, for some reason, when I turn it off and I turn it back on, sometimes, actually all the time, it will go ahead and trigger my Bose speaker. My Bose speaker will be off, and then all of a sudden it will just go ahead and turn it on, and all my notifications and everything will just go through the Bose speaker, which is weird. And I will be like, I didn't hear my phone ring, but it was on my speaker. And so I don't know if that's a OnePlus issue, if that's a Bose issue. I don't know. It's weird. I hate it. Please, it needs to get fixed, because it's kind of a hassle having to get up, go to the bathroom, turn off the Bose speaker, and then come back. Because even if you try to disconnect from the Bose speaker, it'll just connect right again. And so it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know what's going on, but whatever. That is one of the cons, in my opinion. I never had this issue with the iPhone that I had or the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus that I had. I've only had it with the OnePlus phone. So I don't know what's going on. Another con is that there is one single down-firing speaker on this phone. Most phones, like the iPhone, the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, the Google Pixel, all these phones are starting to get dual speakers, and so for OnePlus not to do it is kind of weird. I wish that they would do it, because when I'm watching videos, I'm laying in bed and I have the phone and landscape mode. Sometimes I'll cover up the speaker with my left hand or my right hand, whatever orientation I have it, and I won't be able to hear anything, or it'll be very muffled. And so I wish that OnePlus did that dual stereo speaker sound. The speaker does sound good if you don't cover it up, but I do wish that it did have dual stereo speakers. Would have been a nice touch. Another thing is the vibration motor on this phone. I don't know if it's just me being used to the vibration motors on the iPhone and the S9 Plus, but I just feel like this one is very, very subtle. Like, I have it on the strongest setting possible, and there's still times that I don't feel my phone vibrate. I don't even hear my phone vibrate. It's weird. I don't know if they did that on purpose, just so it's not out there and in your face, but I have it on the vibration setting, the loudest one, I guess. I don't know if vibration setting can be loud, but I have it on the strongest vibration setting, and I still sometimes don't feel it in my pocket. It's weird. Also, while I'm typing on my phone, I have it to where it vibrates when I'm using my keyboard, and sometimes it won't even vibrate when I'm using my keyboard. I don't understand it. I wish OnePlus would fix it. I wish that maybe there was a fix on the hardware instead of the software. I don't know. But I wish that the vibration on this phone was a lot stronger so I can be able to feel it. The next thing is sometimes the Bluetooth connection. This also kind of touches with the Bose speaker kind of thing. But sometimes the Bluetooth connection will just cut off. I don't do it on purpose or anything like that. I'll be listening to music through my headphones. I'll be listening to music through my phone, through my car stereo, and all of a sudden it'll die, and I'm like, what's going on? And my phone's at 100% or 99 or whatever, but it's like the Bluetooth just decided, nah, I don't want to work. And so then I'll have to switch to the radio or whatever, or I'll go back into my settings, my Bluetooth settings to connect, and it'll act like it hasn't even been paired to whatever, and it needs to start a new pairing again. It's weird. I'm not sure if that's a software issue or hardware issue or what, because it doesn't happen with any of my other phones. It just happens with this one. So I'm not 100% sure. OnePlus, maybe you need to figure this out, or with the software, or I'm not sure, but it is pretty annoying. Sometimes I've just gotten to the point where I'll just listen to the radio instead of listening to my music on my phone, because I'm like, I'm not going to deal with having to try to turn off my phone and then turn it back on for my Bluetooth to work, or wait 30 minutes for my Bluetooth to start working again, because sometimes I have to wait 30 minutes for my Bluetooth to start working again. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but please, OnePlus, take care of this. That's definitely very annoying in my opinion. Also, sometimes my cell service will die. I'm not sure. I'll be having full 100% LTE bars, and then all of a sudden it just cuts out, and it's like, I don't want to work. And then I'm like, what? So then I have to wait a while, and finally it'll come back on. But I don't understand why that happens either, and it's not because of the way I'm holding the phone, because I'm holding it how I usually hold it, and it still does the same thing. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but please, can we change that somehow? Maybe better cell phone signal strength, more bands, I don't know. But those were my cons for the OnePlus 6T. So the verdict on this phone, overall this is a great phone for the price. $629 for the 8GB, 256 gigabytes of storage, or $699 for the McLaren edition of this phone, which is 10 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, is not a bad price. It's very comparable compared to phones like the Galaxy, the Pixel, the iPhone, even LG and Huawei. This phone comes in at a cheaper price but still has the same specs for the most part as those phones, with an in-display fingerprint scanner, which is nice. And so I would say that this is a great phone. I personally would go ahead, I would buy this phone again if I had the chance. I would go ahead and get this. And so my verdict is that the OnePlus 6T is a great phone for the money. If you want flagship level specs at a budget phone price, I would say go ahead and get this phone. And so if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And that's the end of that. Thank you for watching.